July 2026 might look quiet on the surface. But don't let that fool you. This month is packed with some seriously interesting releases. From major franchise returns like Assassin's Creed and Doom, to unexpected games that could completely surprise everyone. Some of these will flop, some might become massive hits. Here are 12 games releasing in July 2026 that deserve your attention. Dinoblade easily stands out as one of the most unusual games releasing this month. The concept alone is enough to grab attention. Dinosaurs and blades. That combination already sounds chaotic in the best possible way. From early footage, the game looks like a fast-paced action experience where mobility, timing, and aggressive combat all play a major role. There's a strong focus on movement and fast reactions, which could make gameplay feel highly satisfying. What makes Dinoblade interesting is its ability to stand out in a crowded release month. A lot of games fight for attention by looking bigger. Dinoblade does it by looking different. That can be a huge advantage. Unique ideas tend to attract curiosity very quickly, especially if the gameplay delivers on the concept. The biggest question is whether the game has enough depth to keep players engaged beyond the initial novelty. If it does, Dinoblade could end up becoming one of those surprise hits that catches everyone off guard. Ubisoft is bringing back one of the most beloved entries in the Assassin's Creed franchise with Black Flag, and for longtime fans, this is easily one of the most exciting releases of July. Originally praised for its incredible pirate setting, naval combat, and open-world exploration, Black Flag stood out as a fan favorite for good reason. This version appears to modernize that classic experience with upgraded visuals, smoother gameplay systems, and potentially expanded mechanics built for current generation hardware. You'll once again step into the role of Edward Kenway, a pirate captain navigating dangerous waters filled with enemy ships, hidden treasure, and deadly conflicts between assassins and Templars. What made Black Flag special wasn't just the combat, it was the freedom. Sailing across massive oceans, discovering islands, upgrading your ship, and building your own legend created an experience that felt truly unique. If Ubisoft gets this right, Black Flag could easily become one of the standout releases of the month and a huge win for Assassin's Creed fans. Avatar Legends. The fighting game is aiming to bring the world of elemental combat into a competitive fighting experience, and for fans of the Avatar universe, this could be a very exciting release. The biggest appeal here is obvious: fast-paced battles built around bending mechanics. Instead of traditional hand-to-hand combat, players will control powerful elemental abilities using water, fire, earth, and air in dynamic arena fights. That alone creates huge potential for creative gameplay. What makes this especially interesting is how unique each fighting style could feel. Firebending should feel aggressive and explosive, while waterbending could focus more on fluid movement and control. Earth might deliver heavy power, while air could prioritize speed and mobility. If the developers can make each style feel distinct and balanced, this could turn into something much bigger than just a licensed fighting game. The Avatar world already has a massive fan base. Now the big question is whether the gameplay can actually live up to that potential and deliver a truly satisfying competitive experience. Gurei is one of the more mysterious games releasing in July, and that mystery alone has started generating attention. At first glance, it looks like a dark, atmospheric action experience with a heavy focus on style, combat, and world design. The visual direction stands out immediately. There's a strong sense of tension, with environments that feel eerie, oppressive, and full of hidden danger. It gives off the kind of energy that instantly makes you curious about what's waiting around the next corner. Combat also appears fast and deliberate, rewarding timing, positioning, and smart decision-making rather than pure button mashing. That could make Gurei especially appealing to players who enjoy games with challenge and intensity. Right now, one of the biggest unknowns is how deep the gameplay systems actually go. That's what will decide whether this becomes another overlooked release or one of July's biggest surprises. Sometimes the most unexpected games end up becoming the ones nobody stops talking about. The Relic. first Guardian looks like it's targeting players who enjoy dark fantasy action RPGs with challenging combat and massive boss encounters. From what we've seen so far, this game is heavily focused on brutal battles, dangerous exploration, and progression through increasingly difficult encounters. The world itself looks harsh and unforgiving. Ruined environments, monstrous enemies, and large-scale boss fights all suggest a game built around survival and persistence. That kind of atmosphere immediately appeals to players who enjoy games that feel intense and rewarding. Combat appears weighty and impactful, with every strike carrying real force. That's important because in games like this, strong combat feel can make or break the entire experience. The biggest strength here could be its boss design. If the enemy variety stays strong and the encounters remain memorable, this could easily attract attention from fans of action-heavy RPG experiences. This might not be the biggest name on the list, but it definitely feels like one worth watching closely. Doom is back, and as expected, it looks absolutely brutal. Doom, The Dark Ages. Revelations appears to push the franchise in a darker and heavier direction, while still keeping the fast, aggressive gameplay that made the series legendary. Everything about this game looks intense. The weapons feel devastating, the enemies look terrifying, and the overall atmosphere feels darker than what many fans expected. There's a stronger medieval-inspired identity here, which gives the game a unique personality compared to previous entries. That blend of brutal melee combat, powerful ranged weapons, and relentless enemy pressure could make this one of the most exciting releases of July. What makes Doom special has always been simple: momentum. The constant movement, chaos, and non-stop action create an adrenaline rush few games can match. That's exactly why expectations are so high. If the developers manage to keep that signature speed while successfully evolving the formula, this could easily become one of the standout shooters of 2026. Omen of Cthulhu immediately stands out because of its atmosphere. This is a game that clearly leans heavily into horror, mystery, and psychological tension. From the moment you look at it, the tone feels unsettling. Dark environments, eerie sound design, and constant uncertainty create the kind of experience where tension never fully disappears. And that's exactly what horror fans want. The Lovecraft-inspired setting makes things even more interesting. That means players can probably expect terrifying creatures, disturbing discoveries, and a constant feeling of losing control as the story unfolds. Games like this succeed when they build fear through anticipation rather than constant action. The best horror experiences make players uncomfortable even during quiet moments. That's where the real tension comes from. If the Mound executes its atmosphere and pacing well, it could end up being one of the most memorable horror releases of the month. This definitely feels like one to watch for horror fans. Mistfall Hunter has quietly become one of the more interesting games releasing this month. The biggest reason is its strong blend of action combat, fantasy world design, and cooperative gameplay. Visually, the game already looks impressive. The environments feel dark, mysterious, and filled with danger. There's a strong fantasy identity here, and that alone makes exploration look exciting. Combat also seems to focus heavily on timing, positioning, and teamwork. That's a major strength. Games like this become far more engaging when players feel rewarded for strategy and coordination, instead of mindless aggression. Mistfall Hunter seems built around that idea. What makes this especially promising is its potential replay value. Games with strong progression systems, challenging encounters, and rewarding co-op mechanics tend to build very dedicated communities. That could happen here. The big question is whether the gameplay loop stays satisfying over time. If it does, Mistfall Hunter could easily become one of July's biggest sleeper hits. Splatoon Raiders looks ready to bring even more colorful chaos to Nintendo's multiplayer lineup. The Splatoon franchise has always been known for its fast-paced gameplay, creative mechanics, and unique visual style. That formula has worked extremely well. Splatoon Raiders appears to build on that foundation while introducing new ideas to keep things fresh. That's important. Franchises like this need innovation without losing what made them fun in the first place. The bright visuals and energetic gameplay remain a huge part of the appeal. But beneath that colorful presentation, Splatoon has always offered surprisingly deep, competitive gameplay. Movement, positioning, and team coordination matter far more than many people expect. That's why the series has built such a loyal fan base. If Splatoon Raiders expands the gameplay in meaningful ways while preserving that fast and satisfying multiplayer formula, this could easily become another major success for Nintendo. And based on what we've seen so far, expectations are definitely high. The Ranchers is a different kind of release compared to most games on this list. Instead of focusing on action or combat, it leans more toward open-world farming, survival, and life simulation mechanics. At first glance, it might look calm and simple, but these types of games usually hide a surprising amount of depth. Managing resources, building your land, expanding your farm, and interacting with systems that simulate a living world can become extremely addictive when done right. The appeal here is freedom. Players are not forced into constant action or pressure. Instead, they can progress at their own pace and shape the experience based on their decisions. That's what makes games like this quietly powerful. If the Ranchers manages to balance relaxing gameplay with meaningful progression systems, it could attract a strong audience looking for something more laid back compared to the rest of July's heavy releases. Not every game needs to be explosive to be successful. Sometimes consistency and depth are enough. Echoes of Aincrad immediately brings strong expectations just from its name and concept. It clearly draws inspiration from virtual world RPGs where progression, danger, and immersion are the core focus. This is the kind of game that usually appeals to players who enjoy deep systems, character builds, and long-term progression. From what's known so far, it appears to combine action RPG combat with a layered progression structure inside a large, immersive world. That combination can be powerful if executed correctly. The biggest strength of games like this is player investment. When progression feels meaningful and every encounter matters, players tend to stay engaged for long periods of time. However, that also means expectations are high. If the systems feel shallow or repetitive, the experience can fall apart quickly. But if Echoes of Aincrad delivers on its ambition, it could easily become a hidden gem for RPG fans looking for depth and challenge. Halo is back again, and this time it's focusing on what made the franchise legendary in the first place: campaign-driven gameplay. Halo. Campaign Evolved aims to refine and modernize the classic story experience while keeping the core identity intact. That means tight gunplay, iconic weapon design, and large-scale sci-fi battles that define the series. For many players, Halo is not just a shooter. It's a benchmark for how FPS campaigns should feel. What makes this release especially important is nostalgia combined with modern expectations. Players want the classic Halo feel, but with updated visuals, improved mechanics, and smoother gameplay flow. That balance is extremely difficult to achieve. If done right, this could bring both old fans and new players together. And that's exactly why Halo still matters. It's not just about reliving the past. It's about proving that campaign-focused shooters still have a place in modern gaming.